Here we go! What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Team Swartz, and this is episode 2 of my 10-part mini-series about the United States Army Drill Sergeant Academy. This video, I'm going to be sharing with you how to prepare things that you should and need, which are super imperative to get yourself ready for the Drill Sergeant Academy. Hi, I'm Sergeant First Class Swartz, your local New York virtual Army National Guard recruiter, and I am a part-time drill sergeant with our respective National Guard Recruit Sustainment Program. And with that being said, I recently completed the Drill Sergeant Academy in Class 016-20, July 18th of 2020 amid the coronavirus pandemic. If you didn't see the prior video or the next video, which is going to be an overview about the Drill Sergeant Academy, the Academy is no longer 9 full weeks. You will do 2 weeks distance learning and 5.5 weeks resident portion training at the Academy. You're gonna have little to no time to yourself in the evenings or weekends. It is 6 days of hard work, 1 day off, and even that day off, you're gonna be busy getting yourself ready for the week. So without further ado, again, this video is all about how to prepare for the Drill Sergeant Academy. The number one tip, this is so crucial. The number one tip that I can impress upon you to put real effort prior to getting to the Drill Sergeant Academy is learning your top 3 modules. Once you get that confirmation email from the senior drill sergeant that you've been accepted and confirming that you are attending the Drill Sergeant Academy, they're gonna be sending you the Drill Sergeant Handbook, the ISAP, and everything that you're going to need to get to the Drill Sergeant Academy. They're providing you all the tools. It is on you as a non-commissioned officer to prepare yourself for the Academy. And I've seen far too many drill sergeant candidates get to the Academy and either didn't have enough time to prepare themselves or had more than enough time and figured they would just wing it when they get there. That is the wrong answer. So listen up, sergeants. I'm about to share with you some of the best tips that I can possibly impress upon you to prepare yourself for the Drill Sergeant Academy. Number 1 is to learn your top 3 modules, like I just said. 1, the position of attention. 2, the positions while at the halt, and 3, the hand salute. And you need to know all 3 prior to getting to the Academy. If you make the mistake of waiting to get there, you're gonna have 72 hours-ish to learn all 3 of these modules and be ready to perform them in front of not only the drill sergeant leader, but your entire class. So don't get performance anxiety. You really need to make sure that these are rock solid. I mean, tight. And I highly suggest that you practice in front of others, which is one of the tips I'm about to explain to you. One thing you don't have a lot of at the Drill Sergeant Academy is free time. If you didn't catch it in my earlier video, maybe you'll catch it in the next one with the Drill Sergeant Academy overview. With that being said, you're working 6 days a week. You don't have a full weekend to yourself. You get 1 day to yourself, and even then, you are knocking out drill sergeant candidate tasks to get ready for the rest of the week. Time management is gonna be a killer for most of you. All right, so now you've been accepted to the Academy, you've been emailed your Drill Sergeant Handbook, and inside this handbook are all the modules that you are going to have to memorize. And you're not gonna have to memorize all of them, but the top 3 you do have to know before getting there. The others, you'll be hand selected after you pass your first module pitch. So when you pitch your top 3, you don't know which one you're getting until you're being tested. The first person who's going to pitch one of the top 3 is given 2 to 3 minutes to prepare themselves mentally before pitching it. And then when that person goes up to get tested, the next person's told, you got the position of attention. You have until this sergeant is done pitching, and then you're next. And so on and so forth until all 10 of you have been tested. So you'll literally have 2 to 3 minutes or less, if they knock it out of the ballpark and finish that module in 1 minute 40 seconds, you're up, buttercup. So the first step to learning your modules, in my opinion, is to read the module so that you can comprehend and understand what it is that you're about to memorize. Don't just memorize words. You need to envision and understand and know what it is that you are about to start describing and memorizing as close as possible to verbatim how it is in your handbook. Some people are visual learners, some people learn through auditory, some people learn through experience, hands-on type stuff. So the first one I'm gonna share with you is the hands-on type, which is writing. I want you to write out each and every single line 10 times. And when you're done writing out that line, read that line out loud, slowly, okay? You're gonna do that for each line in that module, line by line. So now you've hit every single line at least 10 repetitions and then 10 repetitions of reading it out loud. Then I want you to pick up your drill sergeant handbook and look at the module, and you're gonna read each line out loud slowly 10 times. So it would look as follows. The next position, which I will name, explain, have demonstrated, in which you will conduct practical work on, is the position of attention. Pause. You're reading with intent to try to retain everything that you are reading and to give your mouth, your lips, your tongue muscle memory, which is another reason why you're going to be doing this so many times in this method. After you've completed reading it 10 separate times and pausing each time you do each line, the next step is to recite as much as you can remember of that line. Once you stumble and stop and can't remember what it is that you just read 10 times, you're going to stop, go back to your handbook, and read that line over again, the entire line over again, slowly, with the intent to read, understand, and retain what it is that you are reading. And you're gonna do that 10 times, and each time that you recite it, you're gonna be surprised to how much more you can remember. Also, when you're reading them, and let's say you're getting hung up on a specific word, you can emphasizing that one word will stick out more in your memory because you switched it up and you're changing it and you're emphasizing it, if that makes sense. Again, you're gonna do this 10 times, trying to recite as much as you can remember and then rereading that line over and over again. So when you're reciting each line, you're gonna start from the beginning and keep going as you're learning the new lines. You're gonna add the new line to what you already memorized. So you're gonna start from the beginning all the way through to the end, or you could break them up into blocks. Your study sessions shouldn't be any more than 20 or 30 minutes, 60 minutes max at any given time before you have a break. I suggest no more than 30 minutes of real effort into studying and memorizing all these things, then take another 15 to 30 minute break and then come back to it. Do not do large chunks of over an hour because you're gonna miss and forget 50% of what you just learned. It has been already proven that it's more impactful for you to retain information that you're learning through short bursts of studying with breaks in between. It just, I don't know why, it just is what it is. Another method is through auditory. I want you to either through video or your voice memo on your phone, I want you to read the entire module as if you were pitching it verbatim, word for word. While you're working out, while you're running, while you're driving, while you're walking around, it doesn't matter. When you have time in between, you should be listening to your recording of that module, okay? And you wanna do that for every module that you're about to do, which in this case, for this example, your top 3. Learn one module so it's rock solid, then you're gonna move on to the next one. And while you're learning the next module, you're going to keep reciting the original module that you learned to keep up with it. Don't, trust me, as fast as you learned it is quicker for you to lose it. So like, for example, if I learned module 1, which is the position of attention, and I'm learning the positions while at the halt, every 15 minutes that I would be learning the next module, I will recite the whole module of the position of attention and then go right back to the next module. And once I get the positions while at the halt done and knocked out and solid, again, every 15 to 30 minutes as I'm studying the third one, which is the hand salute, which is a little bit more longer and intricate, I will be reciting the other 2 just to keep abreast and to keep that muscle memory and to keep it retained in my head longer. So once you think that you have your module rock solid, tight, ready to rock and roll, you have 2 methods. All right, so you have 2 options. You can test yourself through others and have them test you by you practicing and pitching it in front of them, which you should do anyway, but I'm more of an introvert. I don't like working with others, so this is how I tested myself. So yes, you should be working with groups or other people to test you on your modules and remembering reciting in front of them, right? Because it adds that pressure of people watching you. So you should definitely still sustain that and do that. I didn't do that, not that much at the academy. I'm like I said, I'm more of an introvert, so I studied on my own. How I did that was I would pitch the module as I'm using the voice memo to record myself as I'm pitching it. When I'm done pitching it, I would hit the stop, and as I'm playing the voice memo of me practicing and reciting, and I would be reading it from the handbook, and then I would go, oh, okay, I missed this, I missed this, I missed this. All right, so I'm gonna record and recite it again, and then I would check on learning by listening to my voice memo of me practicing by reciting it and verifying that I'm getting everything right by reading it from the handbook. But if at all possible, practice and perform in front of others and have them read the module as you're pitching it. having that additional pressure on you is definitely going to work dividends for you once you get to the academy. You're going to have at least 10 drill sergeant candidates watching you, to include the drill sergeant leader who is grading you. Now, when you're getting graded on your module pitches, the drill sergeants aren't up on you in there like swimwear. They're off to the side, so it is imperative that you sound off, because when you're in a basic training environment or when you're instructing the module pitches in front of trainees, you have to sound off, because you could be giving this module pitch to over 200 trainees at the training site. So for testing purposes, it needs to be at least loud enough that the drill sergeant leader can hear you, who is approximately 25 to 50 meters away. So you have to sound off. So when you're practicing, practice as you fight. The next position, which I will name, explain, have demonstrated, and which you will conduct practical work on, is the position of attention, so on and so forth. So those are the tips that I have to help you memorize your module pitches. Now, I am horrible at memorization. I grew up never memorizing lyrics to music because it was just too hard and difficult for me. So I was pretty impressed with myself on how much I was able to memorize and retain, and still do to this day. All right, tip number 2, preparing yourself for PRT. You think you know it, but you're not as good as you think you are, because they are subject matter experts and they will nitpick every little detail of your performance and how you explain things. We were all at a disadvantage by not having the full 9-week course, because normally at the 9-week Drill Sergeant Academy course, we would be doing 2 weeks of classroom work and then 2 additional weeks of additional training, and so that gives you a whole month to practice PRT. So you will be tested and evaluated as a primary instructor and the assistant instructor. Primary instructor is so much easier. Now, with that being said, as a primary instructor, you have to sound off and enunciate everything. So we have bad habits. I kept getting gigged on, position of attention, whoo, right? To me, it sounds cool, but to a trainee, they may not understand everything. So they want us to pronounce everything and enunciate every syllable and all that good stuff and all that jazz. So it would look like, position of attention, move. Do your own thing when you get to the training site, but for all intents and purposes for the Drill Sergeant Academy, leave that stuff at home. So enunciate everything. So for example, what we would be doing wrong is, in the past, if it was the last repetition of that particular exercise, we would be deflecting instead of inflecting. So for example, we would normally say, 1, 2, 3, wrong. You do not deflect. At the Drill Sergeant Academy, you will get gigged for this, but no more than 2 points for testing purposes. So if you do it twice and they gig you for it, you could deflect all you want for the rest of the assessment, and you will be fine. However, the proper way of doing it now in the Army when you're conducting PRT is inflect your voice. So if your last repetition should sound like this: 1, 2, 3, halt. And that's another thing. You have to say halt. We've never said that before, but for the academy, and only the academy, you have to say halt. Again, they can only deduct 2 points if you don't say halt throughout your entire assessment. But we've never said halt, so you have to add halt and inflect instead of deflect your voice. So it should look as follows: 1, 2, 3, halt. There you have it. And as a primary instructor, you're not going to be able to look at a cheat sheet or anything like that. You have to have it in your head. You have to memorize the preparation drills, 4 for the core, hip stability drills, conditioning drills 1, conditioning drills 2, climbing drills 1, military movement drills 1, military movement drills 2, and the recovery drills. You have to know each and every single exercise in order, or else you'll get gig points by going out of order. And if you miss them, just don't do it. Not only do you have to know the exercises, but you have to perform them accurately. So when you're performing each exercise, you have to do them in accordance with FM 7-22. So in your Drill Sergeant Handbook, you're gonna look at each and every single exercise in everything I just stated to you. Reason being is you're gonna walk through each and every single exercise to learn how to describe each exercise, all the movements, positions, hand positions, all that stuff. So for example, when you're doing the assistant instructor, you have to be able to describe each exercise. So when the primary instructor says, the bend and reach, and then the formation sounds off with, the bend and reach. So once that the primary instructor says, starting position, move, you just as loud as the primary instructor, if not louder, as you're walking around, sounding off with the description of the exercise, you're also gonna be on top of that, making corrections. And if there's nothing to correct, you're still gonna make corrections because that's what the drill sergeant leaders want you to do. The starting position for the bend and reach is the straddle stance with your feet about shoulder width apart and parallel as if you're standing on a railroad track, arms extended and locked overhead, fingers and thumbs extended and joined, palms facing inward. On count 1, you are going to bend at the knees and hips, swing your arms between your legs, looking to the rear. And count 2, you're gonna return back to the starting position. On count 3, you're gonna repeat count 1. On count 4, you're gonna return back to the starting position, sounding off with the last repetition counted. So on and so forth, just like that. If you don't see anything that needs to be corrected, you're going to make stuff up to make corrections, because when you're on test day being evaluated, you need to make corrections in addition to describing each exercise throughout the entire PT session. So for example, in a basic training environment, we're gonna go back to Barney style. We're gonna have to baby step everything. So with that being said, so when you're at the Drill Sergeant Academy and eventually when you get to the trail as a drill sergeant, when you call your PT formation to attention, you're gonna say right, haste. If you're shorter than the person in front of you, move forward. Cover, that's gonna cause them to raise their left hand and to get their distance, right? So you're gonna do that right away. Once they get everything, you're gonna say recover, they're gonna lower their hands, and you're gonna forward march. When you get to your final destination, when you're done marching, you're gonna do another cover, right? So they get their distance, then you're gonna say left, face, dress right, dress. That way they get their distance again, then you're gonna say ready, front, and now they're properly formed. You're also gonna have to make sure that they are centered on you 3 paces from the formation. You don't adjust to them, they adjust to you. So if you're improperly formed, they will let you know and they will tell you dismissed, fall in again, and readjust yourselves. That leads me to another thing. My entire Army career, fallout was a usual thing to include when I went to leadership schools. You don't say fallout until the end of the day. That means you're done for the day. Dismissed is the term that you want to use to dismiss your squad and to readjust, reform, what have you, or if you're just dismissing to go to chow or whatnot, use the term dismissed. Do not use fallout. That is at the end of the day when business is closed. So tip number 4 is to read your drill sergeant handbook. You're gonna be learning and relearning 10 level skill tasks. You at your units are learning levels 2, 3, 4, and so on. We are breaking this down to Barney style. So take whatever you think you know and throw it out the window. It is in your best interest, especially in my opinion, if you are not in a combat MOS, read this handbook, brush up on everything. I happen to struggle with the tactics. I am a human resource specialist, I'm a crane operator, I am recruiter, I've been recruiting for 16 years, and now I am a part-time drill sergeant. I have not done tactics training in who knows how long, okay? So with that being said, and even if you think you know it, definitely helps if you're infantry to know the tactic stuff, but read the handbook. You're gonna be learning about CBRN, land navigation, squad tactics, so on and so forth. You don't necessarily have to read it to be tested on it now, but you're gonna be doing a rifle marksmanship test, tactics test, land navigation, you can be tested on that as well. So it is in your best interest to learn this stuff, at least familiarize yourself with it before leaving, because when you get to the Drill Sergeant Academy, you are going to be teaching those classes. This is a student-led course, which means that the Drill Sergeant leaders are not teaching us almost everything, okay? It is all student-led. And when you're teaching these classes, you gotta make sure that you're not just using the information that you get from the handbook. You're going to have to Google and research and look up actual FMs and TMs and so on and so forth to come up with your classes. And you gotta make sure that you're looking at the slides that are on the blackboard, right? Because you gotta make sure that you're hitting all the pertinent points for the test. If not, you are failing your battle buddies, your other drill sergeant candidates in your class. We are being tested on this material, and it is your responsibility to teach us everything that we need to know. So don't worry about overkilling it, teach it. And actually prepare for your class, all right? My first class, it was just load and unload M16, M4, and magazine, and I thought it was gonna be an easy class. I made the mistake of waiting until the night before to do it, and I realized that it was 4 freaking classes in that one class. So yeah, I got a lower grade than I had anticipated. I know I would have knocked it out of the ballpark if I actually prepared for it ahead of time. So do not get complacent. And again, time management is either gonna make you or break you at the Drill Sergeant Academy. All right. Let's talk about tip number 5. Prepare yourself for the ACFT and UFRs, unit formation runs. Side note, asterisk, exclamation point, stop sign, whatever, this is extremely important. Do not fall out of your UFR. If you fall out of your unit formation run, don't be the first one. You might get away with it for your second, third, or whatever, but do not be the first one because that is the worst for you. But however, if you fall out of the UFR run, you are taking the risk of being recycled to a later platoon. You will get recycled, kicked out of the academy if you fall out of the unit formation run, which is somewhere between 7 minutes and 30 seconds to about a 10-minute pace. Depending on your senior drill sergeant or your first sergeant, whoever's running with you on these UFRs, if you fall out, you're taking the risk of being recycled just for falling out of the run. So do your due diligence, start running now. On top of that, you will be doing a diagnostic ACFT 2 weeks after you arrive at the Drill Sergeant Academy. That one's not for record, okay? But try your best. Test yourself, see how you do. Don't worry about failing it. A week later, you're going to do a rock drill or like a rehearsal, and you're going to learn how to operate, run, set up, and all that good stuff about the Army Combat Fitness Test. The following week after that is the one for record. However, until further notice, the Army put out a new policy temporarily that the ACFT will not be for record and will not negatively impact a soldier who fails the ACFT up until 2022. So on our graduation day, because earlier that week, that's when the policy dropped, we were told to remove our record ACFT scorecard, and it was no longer included in our packets. So that too, as of right now, if you're going through the Drill Sergeant Academy, starting basically June of this year of 2020 through 2022, unless the Army changes the policy, it is not for record. However, you will be tested at minimum the gold standard. It is in your best interest to hit at least gold standard. Your senior drill sergeant, your drill sergeant leaders will be harassing you to pass it, okay? So do your best. And if you don't already know, you're about to know that if you can't and you fail to do at least one leg tuck, because that's all they want you to do, yeet that mother flower, yeet, okay? Get up there. If you can't yeet one repetition for the leg tuck, you have to attempt it, and then you can go down to the ground and you can do a 2-minute plank. You cannot move, shift, adjust anything once the clock starts. You have to hold that plank for 2 minutes. And if you don't know, you got 10 minutes between your leg tuck or your plank before you can move on to the run. So you only get a maximum of 10-minute break before your 2-mile run. And if you move to the plank, you're only gonna get a 60% mark for that, okay? So just keep that in mind. And some miscellaneous tips that you should consider when you're going to the Drill Sergeant Academy is make sure that you hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. Your first 2 weeks of the Drill Sergeant Academy is PRT, all day, every day, 6 days a week. So if you're going in the summertime, even the fall, if it's not raining, put a can of sunblock in your camelback, because you're not gonna go back to the barracks or the hotel, okay? Yes, you stay at a hotel for controlled monitoring, kind of like the all-new yellow phase in Army basic training. So you'll be staying in a hotel for 2 weeks. So you're not gonna be able to go back to your car or back to the hotel room or eventually the barracks later. So you're gonna have to carry that sunblock with you in your camelback along with the study guide, which is your Drill Sergeant handbook that looks like this, that they will issue you on day 1, or you can purchase this pocket-sized one through Patriot Academy or something like that. I'll put a link down below so you can check that out. So time management is your enemy here, okay? If you're not good at time management, okay? So if you're in between breaks, if there's not a whole lot going on, so kind of like how a trainee goes through basic training, when you're not actively engaged in something, pull that book out, start memorizing your module, look at the class that you're about to instruct. Again, hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. Get yourself Pedialyte or something along those lines. So at the end of the day, drink at least half to a full bottle of Pedialyte to get all those electrolytes, sodium, so on and so forth, to keep yourself hydrated and have all the minerals and vitamins that you need so that your muscles don't cramp up, you don't pass out and become a heat cat. If you become a heat cat, you go on sick call and you go on any type of temporary profile, you are getting kicked out of the Drill Sergeant Academy, be recycled, and come back at a later date. So every single morning for formation, you are going to have to recite the Soldier's Creed, the NCO Creed, the Drill Sergeant Creed, and the Army Song. at minimum, depending on your platoon, drill sergeant leaders, you will have to know the drill sergeant creed and the Army song. Other platoons around us had to recite everything, the soldier creed, NCO creed, drill sergeant creed, and the Army song. And my last bonus tip 2.0 is to get your mind right. There is no rank at the Drill Sergeant Academy. It doesn't matter if you're a Sergeant First Class or a Sergeant E5, or if you're a Staff Sergeant and your Drill Sergeant Leader is an E5, or vice versa. Like I was an E7 and my Drill Sergeant Leader or a Drill Sergeant Leader is a Staff Sergeant, guess what? Or even the Deputy Senior Drill Sergeant was a Staff Sergeant and I'm a Sergeant First Class. Rank means nothing at the Academy. You are, for all intent and purposes, a trainee. That's it. Drink the mother flower Kool-Aid. Hallelujah. So hopefully you got some thick skin. If you think it was bad enough as a trainee going through the first time, it's going to be 10 times worse for you the second time when you think that you are somebody when you're there. Because these drill sergeant leaders will light you up. You will get screamed at as if you are a trainee. You will be practically hazed while you're at the Drill Sergeant Academy. So with that being said, be a team player, help out your battle buddies, help them study, it will help you study at the same time. And if you are assigned as a student leader or others are assigned as a student leader, when in charge, be in charge. When you are a follower, be a good follower. They are being evaluated, and if you decide to give them pushback or make things more difficult for them because you think you're better than them because you happen to be an 11 Bravo or a combat MOS and they happen to be a Pogue, drink the Kool-Aid, because you could also be voted off the island, so to speak. Okay, I forgot the technical term they use, but it could be through a peer evaluation and they can vote you off or out of the Drill Sergeant Academy, and you don't want that. That's why I'm saying, be a team player. If at all possible, drive to the Drill Sergeant Academy. You are going to want to have a vehicle to get from point A to point B. You are going to get assigned to a hotel for 10 to 14 days prior to being moved to the barracks. So that being said, the hotels that I stayed at were over a mile away. So that's a long walk every morning and every evening with everything. Oh, and also, as of right now, Uber or any other taxi or car service is not allowed to go on post. So you're gonna have to contact the Drill Sergeant Academy upon arrival, right? Because they're gonna have to drop you off at the gate. And if the Drill Sergeant Academy doesn't send somebody to get you, you are literally gonna have to walk from the gate to the in-processing center at the Drill Sergeant Academy. So that's why I'm saying, if you can, get authorization to drive your own vehicle. I highly doubt they're gonna approve a rental, but it's easier to get a vehicle approved for DTS purposes because it's cheaper just to pay for gas and mileage rather. And it worked out for me, and I'm so glad that I drove. If you're flying, it's gonna be so much more of a hassle for you to carry everything because you're gonna have to bring everything that is on that packing list. If at all possible, knock out your SHARP certificate if it's more than 6 months old at the time that you get to the distance learning or the resident portion of the Drill Sergeant Academy to include your composite risk management course. I know right now, during COVID-19, they are pretty lenient when it comes to certain things. Like if you haven't done a weapons qual in the last 6 to 12 months, they're pretty lenient with that because they know and understand that with the coronavirus pandemic restrictions and stuff like that, they're a little bit lenient with that. But if at all possible, make sure, if you have the ability to, go and get your weapons qualification completed. Last but not least, please, I'm telling you right now, and they're gonna tell you when you're in processing, if you don't have a mask, by the next morning, you're not gonna be able to continue on with the Drill Sergeant Academy. So with that being said, bring 5 to 7 washable masks in neutral colors or camo patterns. So black, brown, white, green, maybe navy blue, right? I suggest that you don't get a white one because it's pretty much walking around looking like you have a diaper on your face, but bring 5 to 7 face masks. You're going to be doing PRT and it's gonna get sweaty, it's gonna get dirty. You're gonna keep the other one inside your CamelBak and a Ziploc bag so you could swap it out in the middle of the day. You will thank me for this. Trust me, bring them. Get them on Amazon. They're pretty cheap. You can get like 2 or 3 of them for like 10 bucks. So do me a favor, like this video, share this video. If you have a battle buddy that's preparing themselves for the United States Army Drill Sergeant Academy, send them this link. They will thank you for it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. That's it. Video's over. sorry, but you could definitely watch more. You can check out this video here, or maybe you can check out this video here. But you know what? Actually, this video is pretty good. You should definitely watch this one. But actually, this one seems pretty great. You should definitely check out this video. But actually, why don't you watch them both? Try clicking the